It's been a busy week of interviews, and today we are chatting with Jake. He's in the green room with us for QLZ. Jake, a guitarist and vocalist of a band that we're getting on new on Q this week, the Artist Spotlight next week of Autumn Kings. Jake, dude, we've been bullshitting for a while. I figured let's get to it.
It's been a hot minute. I'm all about it. Great to talk with
Hey,
you. Sir.
yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm rocking and rolling, just in the studio. Been writing, feeling good. Got my caffeine, and I'm feeling great.
Are you at home? Is this a home studio that you're in?
This is my home studio right now. Yes, I'm
Awesome.
actually. This is my co-producer and co-writer Marty's studio, but it's basically like my second home, so I
Okay.
tend to call it my home studio.
I know we've been chatting about you guys being independent, and we were talking about some of the success stories of bands being independent, and how important it is for you. Obviously, you guys tour, the music, you're creating the music, and we're in a time right now where the industry is so much different than what it's ever been. Even the last 5 years in this massive shift. Like, how important is it for like you and the guys in the bands and a lot of independent bands to have, maybe producing skills or just stuff behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize what goes into when you're making music?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it is of utmost importance. I was very scared to learn how to produce at first because it's very technical, and my background lies in playing the guitar, learning how to rip Metallica riffs, Pantera, August Burns Red. And so learning the technical side of it was a real learning curve, but very important because you're more self-sufficient. You can better articulate your vision, and it's okay to get an additional producer or co-writer to help sort of finish that idea, but to at least be able to convey what you're imagining in your mind is a really important skill. Plus, it saves you on production budget. And so, as an
Yeah.
independent band, rather than depending on the label's budget that gives you the illusion of having free money, but
Mm.
ultimately you're paying it back, we'd rather take on as many of those responsibilities as we possibly can. And it's just better for the financial health and growth of the band.
Yeah, exactly. And I talking to a lot of bands where it's like, dude, having more skills now is the most important thing ever. Um, you and Joe, your singer, you guys also have, you guys can probably stock shelves very well too, because you
Yeah.
guys met at a grocery store, which I used to ask a lot of bands that came on the air spotlight kind of how they formed and kind of got away from that question because, sometimes they're just like, oh, we're friends or whatever else. But I don't know how many bands that formed out of a grocery store. So you guys just kind of like jamming on in the break room one day, or kind of how this come about?
And it was the craziest thing. So I was a cashier. He was a banana boy, as I call him. He would
Okay.
stuff the shelf. And he still is the nicest guy, the calmest guy, no ego, which is, some might argue rare for a lead singer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'd always look to me from afar and just say hi. And then one day we happened to catch the same break in the break room, and we started BSing, kind of like you and I were doing before this interview. And oh yeah, you're in a band, Jay. I used to be in an old band when I was in high school, and started getting a little bit of local radio play, but
Yeah.
nothing crazy. But at that time, it's funny how everything's relative in your life. That was the coolest thing to him. And we sort of just had this empty promise that a lot of musicians make. We should jam sometime.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Never happened. A year and a half later, I see this kid come up on my Facebook. He was playing the acoustic guitar. It was like some ad or something. I'm like, is that Joe from Fresco? And I was so inspired by seeing his voice come up on my Facebook. I kid you not, I got my iPhone right here. I had an iPhone at the time, 2014. I pull out my old BlackBerry from my closet, dig up his number from that time we were in the break room saying we should jam, texted him, sent him a list of like 24 songs to learn to see if he was serious about
Okay.
joining a band. Had him learn it in 2 days. He came, we jammed, and it all worked out. And the rest is history. Thank you, Fresco.
Dude, that's amazing. 24 songs in 2 days. He learned.
That was my test. I'm a bit of a menace. I want to
Okay.
make sure he cared and wanted to do this right. So, and he learned it. He learned them
Yeah.
all.
You'd think that's something that you would want in a band, but do a lot of like it seems simple. Like, you want to make sure people are as driven as you are for a band. Like, if you
Right.
don't want to do this as a hobby, like if you want to do it a hobby, awesome, great. But like, you want to make sure people are locked in for this.
100%. And it's funny that you say that, because one of the first questions I asked him is, what are your ambitions? Like, do you have anything outside of music that you're interested in? And he's like, nah, maybe, like he just dropped out of school. I
Okay.
dropped out of school. I might, do a podcast with some of my brothers. But other than that, I'm like, that is the perfect answer. That is the exact kind of person that we need to be in a band together, because there was no plan B. There was no backup plan. And it was like, all in. And we were young. We were like 18, 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck do you have to lose?
And that's also, and now you guys are touring. I asked you this as well because I want to make sure that it was correct. You guys did a 9-show run in the Pacific, in Guam, in Japan, in South Korea, where you
Yes.
guys did these shows for just all military. All these shows, I guess. So, I guess first off, was this run, maybe was it different than other tours you guys had done in the past? Was there anything like a different vibe to it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was dramatically different, actually.
Okay.
So I think the biggest difference is that the military is actually it's run very professionally. So everything is structured. We got the red carpet rolled out for us, all expenses covered. Driver there on a coach bus that could fit like 60 people, but there are only 7 of us in the crew. And, treated like kings. And
Yeah.
we're used to playing little dive bars to nobody, right?
Yeah.
Like this is how we came up. So it was a miraculous experience. It was really life changing too, actually, because it's all American military personnel, and I think a few Canadians that were positioned there too. And they are fighting some crazy battles over there, metaphorically and
Yeah.
physically, that the general public really doesn't get to hear about or know about. And we got to get an up close glimpse, talk to some highly accomplished guys, generals, and people who have had a full career of service in military. So it was really amazing, not to mention seeing the other part of the world, which none of the guys
Yeah.
had ever seen. Japan. Oh my gosh, I could just go on all day about how beautiful that place is, the culture, there were people on our flight from Denver to Tokyo. We were with some of the Japanese people, and they would get up every 45 minutes and just stretch on the plane. There's this 65-year-old lady doing push-ups on the side. Like, dude, if an American did that, we'd all look at them and be like, what is wrong with this person? But they
Yeah.
really care about the body and the mind and the spirit. So that, combined with hearing the stories of the military personnel there, combined with awesome shows, and they did an awesome job promoting it too. I mean, our names were plastered all over these military bases. We'd never been to military bases before either. It's like mini Americas. You still have like your Texas Roadhouse, your Subway, your like, all right, boys, we're good. So it was nothing short of amazing.
And I told you, I think there's five parts of it, correct? You guys had a vlog series of 5 parts of this?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, I've watched the first 2 so far. I would encourage people to go watch these because they're anywhere from, like, I think 5 to 12-minute videos. They're not super long. You can knock them out, on your break or whatever else. But it's cool seeing you guys talking to some of like the crew that's there helping you guys set up, and you're like, man, we wish we could take some of these people on the road with us because they're so efficient at what they're getting done.
Right.
And the people that, seem to know you guys very well as an independent band, a band that's, has grinded, and these people that are spending time with you guys that like know your music and everything else.
Yeah, pretty incredible thing. We didn't know how familiar or not people were going to be with the band because some of those folks had been positioned there for so long, and they're not really used to the everyday amenities and luxuries that you and I get to have. So we weren't sure how familiar they were going to be with the band's music, but pretty much everywhere we went between South Korea, Japan, and Guam, people knew the band, and that meant that much more. And they get to see the band play for the first time. Even though we're all Americans, we're playing on the other side of the world. And the hope is that, knock on wood, and God forbid they're able to, survive and get back home, that we'll be able to play with them, play for them again for many years to come. Definitely a surreal.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'd encourage people to go watch it because the interactions are very cool to see, with the band and all of them on these military bases, and people coming up and hugging you guys and talking and sharing photos. It's a really, really cool thing to see. Sleeping I'm Dead is the track you guys have out now. It's the new single. I told you it came up on my Spotify. I had been told this song was coming.
Yeah.
So for how things work on our radio end, hey, when we get the certain song, once we get approval on it, we'll send it on over. Your guys' song came up. I was like, oh, I really like this track. And then it came through, really, really enjoyed it. So for people that are maybe haven't heard the song yet, we're playing it. I told you on New on Q tomorrow night. We're getting you guys to our spotlight on the 13th. What do you want people to know about this track? This is a question I leave very open-ended because I know some bands, you maybe want to tackle it from the lyrical standpoint, the inspiration standpoint, the musical standpoint of it. But what do you want people to know about the track?
What we want people to know about the track is that it is just a ball of energy and inspiration. It's really interesting because I find this might be a controversial take, but I think there are a lot of songs that lean into the sort of negative human emotions like depression, anxiety, those sorts of things. And I feel personally that it's gotten to an extent where it almost feels glorified. So we want to be the antithesis to that. And we want to be all about empowerment, inspiration, kicking butt, and getting hyped up to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, whether that's in work or sports, or if you're a YouTube streamer or a video game streamer, or making money or making it in a band, or surviving a really tough time. Like for us, a really tough time to survive was COVID as an independent band, because we hadn't gotten over that proverbial hump. Whereas if you're a Taylor Swift or Shinedown or Five Finger, where you're a massive band already, you're not really that affected in the grand scheme of things by COVID. But for us, we felt we were right on the cusp of hitting something big, and then all the momentum stopped, and basically all the success was stripped from our feet. And it was really hard, and it was just a test of will. There was no logic involved. No university degree could help an independent band like us weather that storm of COVID, with no management at that time, no team around us. It was literally will to win. Obviously, we had food, we had shelter, we're living in a free country, but it felt like we were fighting our own sort of war in a certain way. And Sleep When I'm Dead speaks to just that will, like that choice that comes from within to push through your demons. No medication could help that, no therapy. Like, it's just straight from the inside. So that's what Sleep When I'm Dead is about. It's that hustler's anthem.
I love it. It's good. It's a rocking track. It's like you said, it kind of tackles that side of you're going through a lot, but it's got a very upbeat feel to it, though. I feel like it's rocking, but it's very upbeat feeling at the same time.
Yes, that's right. Fair to
Which
say.
I've really enjoyed from you guys. So what else do you guys have coming up for 2024? I mean, again, you and I were talking about the industry a little bit before we got rolling.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to do singles this year, EPs, albums? Kind of what do you guys want to do when it comes to more music? And is there any touring you're allowed to discuss at this point? I know we're pretty still early in the year, but
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I'll go one by one on those. But we put out an album in 2022 called Book of the Broken. It was an 11-song record, and it was a concept album. So every song had a unifying lyrical thread. And the idea was, we're going to put out this full record and see if people will be willing and able to digest that full body of work. What we learned is, as much as we wanted the album to connect, people have shorter, I don't know if it's attention spans or consideration spans. So what we're going to do now for 2024 is we're going to do single every 4 to 6 weeks, see how that works out. Touring plans in the works, nothing particularly secured yet, but Europe is number one priority, tied with America, Europe and the USA. So that'll probably be summertime to fall time. And in the meantime, expect a lot of new music, a lot of new videos. Expect to hear your boys on the radio, QLZ and others. And we're just going to keep busting it out. But lots of new music, I think, is the main priority right now.
Awesome. Very cool. And again, every band has something different. It's what works for them. And it's why I'm like, hey, what's going on? We mentioned albums. This is a question, Jake, I've got for you that every single time now I'm interviewing somebody for the first time, I ask them, because it's fun, because you mentioned you had a record out in 2022. I still love listening to an album from start to finish. I ask every person that comes on your favorite no skip records of all time.
Favorite
favorite no skips.
Ooh, that's a great question. So I've got 3, and I think one of them might surprise your listeners in particular. But so I'll go American Idiot by Green Day.
Okay,
that's absolutely 0 skips on that. Master of Puppets, Metallica, 0 skips. And even though that's a long body of work, oh, dude, I have so many. Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent is one of my favorite records of all time. No skips. I could go on, like Midwestern Boy, Rise Against, Appeal to Reason, The Sufferer and The Witness. Both of those are no skips. So I definitely just went double the amount that you had requested in your question, but that got me pumped.
You're good. When I told you I used to be in Wisconsin before this. You saw my LinkedIn that I'm ping ponging back and forth as well.
Yes.
So this used to be a blog called Favorite Fives. So it used to be asking people for fives and then their reasons why. So if you got a fifth, dude, I mean, go ahead and throw it on there. We've got 4. If you want to throw one more in, go for it.
Right now, let's see, fifth. I would say Blink-182, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I noticed is all those bands, I don't know if it was an accident or intentional, but every song had amazing hooks, amazing melodies, and the songs are really thought out and crafted. Because it's funny is with Autumn Kings, we don't write songs in a day or 2 days. It is over a long period of time, and then we sit with it, live with it for a week, let it incubate, change this, change that. It's never really like an easy process, but we want every song to have that one listen memorability. And those records that I just mentioned all had that thing where you listen once and it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. No, I love it. Dude, you had a nice a nice variety there. It's people's answers have been kind of all over the place. Interviewed Molly Diago this week. She had Bruce Springsteen on her list. So every once in a while, we've had some people reference Dave Matthews. So it hasn't always been rock and metal. I had the guys from Under Oath on at one point. They just talked for 5 minutes. So I just kind of sat back and I'm like, all right, you guys have the interview. It's yours now. They just kept ping ponging back and forth, and it was fun to watch. So it's been a really fun question for me to ask. And Jake, before I let you go, where can everybody follow you guys? Socials, website, if people want to see when you're hitting the road, when more new music comes out, if they want to buy merch, where can they get all that done?
Yeah, absolutely. So for merch, it's www.autumnkings.com. Socials, Autumn Kings on Facebook, Autumn Kings Band on Instagram, Autumn Kings TikTok. You just type in Autumn Kings to any socials platform or music platform. You will see your boys there, and DM us if you hear the song on QLZ. We'll share it up. We'll tag you guys. And dude, thank you so much for your support. It's been a really fun chat.
No, Jake, it's been good having you on, man. Like I said, tomorrow night, New on Q, we've got you guys on, and then Wednesday the 13th, 8:30 for me, 9:30 for you, for the Artist Spotlight. So, Jake, appreciate it, man. Dude, we'll definitely chat with you again.
Rock and roll. Thanks so much, Ryan.